like to ask or get to know more about you in terms of what you do and where you are working currently and what you do there, sir.
Okay. So I am right now at SciELO. I am a coordinator. I am part of the SciELO Brazil coordination board, and I am in charge of what we call here the online submission and preprint um, unit or group, and I am responsible for coordinating the platforms that we offer to our journals. We currently offer two platforms, Scholar One, and the other is Open Journal System, which I'm sure you are familiar. And I've been doing that. I've been the coordinator for that area since 2014. So, and even before that, I was already working really closely with SciELO journals. I was already part of the training and support, providing support for our journals using these systems. But only in 2014, I became the coordinator for that area. And then later on, in 2020, we launched the SciELO Preprints server, which uses the OPS platform, Open Preprint System, that is very similar to OGS. It's the same core platform. So due to its similarities, and also due to the fact that preprints happen typically before or after the proper submission to a journal, due to those similarities, I was the director, the SciELO director, appointed me as the person to be in charge and coordinate the development of SciELO preprints, because it was similar to what I was already doing before, which is providing support for the journals using submission systems. So I've been since then, since 2020, it's been 5 years now. I am in charge of the SciELO preprint server here in SciELO Brazil.
Oh wow, that's very great. That's very great. That's very great. So glad to hear that. Can I get to know how is the preprint uptake so far in your country and also within your region?
Right. It's been fairly good. There's not a day that we don't get a submission. There's always new submissions coming. There are differences in areas, in disciplines. So there are disciplines that are more prone, or they are more inclined to submission to preprints. And I would say that, surprisingly enough, the humanities discipline has been a discipline that's been surprising us. There's a great uptake in humanities preprints. And well, the health sciences has historically been familiar, and they have used preprint for a longer time, especially during the pandemic years. So they are more inclined to preprints. They are more familiar with it. And well, the hard sciences as well. Well, we don't have a lot of preprints in the physics area, but because I think there are probably more well-established preprint servers out there that could that suit these studies. But we do see occasionally some preprints on physics. And the area that we see the least is agriculture. We don't see a lot of agriculture preprints in our server, at least. So the uptake has been, let's say, according to our expectations. And especially, it's not within Brazil. also in Latin America. Most of our preprints are still from Brazil, but we are seeing an increasing adoption of Latin American authors who are also starting and being to become more familiar with preprints. It's still not as much as Brazil, but we are seeing a growth in those countries as well.
Wow, there's been so much an improvement. That's a very great thing to hear. And I believe SciELO has been doing a lot of great work. So with this kind of data and your experience and interaction with other people, is there anything that seems like a motivation to this author in preparing their work?
Yeah, that's a good question and complements what I was saying before. We have a few journals that are starting to promote the use of preprints and to stimulate the prior deposit of preprints, in particular in humanities area. That's why I think it's the reason why we see so many preprints in that discipline, because we have a few journals. In particular, I can name one specific of educational an education journal in SciELO Brazil that is requiring the prior deposit of preprints prior to submitting to their journal. So this is, I don't, maybe it's not a motivation per se, but it's definitely making the number of preprints in that area to grow. But we're also seeing that it's happening in a very organic way, where authors are starting to see the benefits of posting preprints. In particular, I would say in areas that are that have a community interest, for instance, public health. So there's a lot of authors in the public health that are aware of the benefits of early posting of preprints. So we see a lot of organic deposits coming from those authors, but also from some specific journals that are seeing the importance, that are recommending authors to deposit in a preprint server, whether it's SciELO or otherwise. But we are observing that. So I would say those are the main things, because we still don't have a lot of, and this is something that I think we will address later on in this interview, but we are still not seeing a lot of encouragement or public policies that could that incentivize authors to post preprints. So I think right now what we see is the journals are doing a lot, and the authors are also the researchers are paying attention to what's happening in the community, and they are seeing their colleagues doing that. We also have some specific congresses that's happening in Brazil, and there's one in particular in the social sciences that they are also offering, they are promoting, they are encouraging authors to post their articles in SciELO Preprints. So we are seeing these initiatives popping up and which are promoting the use of preprints.
Yeah, thank you so much. I truly relate to what you are saying. I've actually been witnessing is that people are not too kind of certain if preprinting their work actually stop them from submitting their work for publication, and it has been a barrier. And some people just feel like, okay, fine, so far this does not mean that I have kind of like a substantial publication, especially in terms of people that are working in the station. I know that one of the criteria for their promotion or for their advancement or for them to actually be relevant as they always imagine is that they must have a work, especially a work that is being published in a prestigious journal. So they end up finding out that these preprints might not be relevant to them, but they're actually missing a whole lot of concepts regarding it. So I think I have to ask this question. Why do you think that? Personally, I've been having this kind of feeling that we should not be doing the research because we want to get promotion. Yeah, it's kind of very important. I believe that research should be done because we have to kind of bring in open science communication. But I think we are getting it wrong because when people are doing it and willing to publish to journals without even caring about, are people actually getting any findings from what they have actually published? What is the committee view about this particular paper? Like, what is your thoughts regarding this whole issue? Because I have a lot of concern regarding it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I think researchers, they see the importance of open science and open communication. But um, as you were saying, the policies sometimes they don't work in favor of that. So what happens is that an author, a researcher, they have so much to do, right? They are not just a researcher. They are doing maybe they are professors, maybe they are part of working groups, maybe they are, I don't know, they might have a full-time job or some other demands, and they have to review papers or write book chapters. So there's so much that they are required, and so that they have to. It's a system that asks them to do what is asked to do for them to do in order to grow, as you said, to grow in the career. So sometimes these tasks or these requests or these demands that give them an opportunity to grow in their career, sometimes this is what they would do. This is what they would chase after, because it would mean something for their career. It would mean maybe some financial return. They would grow and they would have a higher rank in the institution they are at. So this is what they end up prioritizing, and the whole open science and research for what is worth, it ends up staying in the background. So even though they see the importance, let's say if they put all their energy on that alone, they might, at the end of the day, they might realize, okay, this is good for science and research communication, but I still have to pay my bills. I still have to be, at a certain position in my institution. So, and what I mean here is that the rulers, the organizations, the institutions, they have to be a top-bottom approach, or like it has to come from public policies where preprints and where the whole ranking system and the whole whatever is valued needs to be revealed, because nowadays it's you get points, let's put it quote unquote, you get points or you get perks or benefits if you publish. But what about publish in a journal, mostly in a prestigious journals, in a high impact factor journal? But what about reviewing? Let's talk about reviewing. There's not a lot of recognition of reviewing, and reviewing is just as important as publishing. So, and that's why we have a lack of reviewers, lack of people willing to review, because it doesn't have the same weight as publishing an article. So I think preprints falls somewhere in that, because it's still not recognized as a valid publication, as something that would give you points as much as a journal, a prestigious journal, as you said. So I think I think it's very noble that some researchers are doing posting preprints and reviewing open reviews, despite nowadays those are still not as appreciated as journal articles. And I think for us to have a broader adoption, we need those institutions and we need organization, we need funding agencies um, to promote the use and to give more points and to give more points for those who are doing open science. So they feel like, okay, now I have something in return as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for breaking it down. I think I understand the whole concept. So regarding that, what can be the main general barrier to this posting of preprints? What can be the general barrier to posting of preprints?
That's one of I think the biggest one is the lack of public policies. Most authors may think that, why will I do that? I mean, I don't get anything out of it. I'm not getting any points, or I'm not, climbing in whatever rank I'm supposed to climb. So they don't see the benefit of posting preprints, and they would rather follow the traditional path where they are awarded certain points and they will be cited because the high impact journal, impact factor journal, will quote unquote allow or provide them that. So I think that if we see the institutions, the funding agencies and the organizations, the research organizations, if they start promoting the benefits of preprints, and they also start requiring the earlier deposit of preprints, especially when the final publication is going to be open access, especially when the research has used public funding. If they also require preprints, we would see a major shift, because people would be they would have to do this, and sometimes we need to we are trying to see the benefits and 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 hoping for let's say the organic adoption, but to have a major adoption, we would have to have like guidelines and rules and mandates, because that's the only way we will get everyone on board, because we still have a system that is benefiting, that is not benefiting preprints. And there's also another thing. This is it's all related, but before I mentioned that we have journals that are promoting the early deposit of preprints, that are mandating that, but we also have journals, not in SciELO, but in Brazil or other countries, we have journals that don't allow the submission of an article if the article is already a preprint, that they reject papers that have been previously deposited as preprint. And this is a barrier as well, because let's say I'm an author and I have a paper that is ready to be deposited, and I want to submit it to a specific journal. When I read the author instructions for the journal, it clearly says that they don't accept preprints. So that is a barrier, because if that author was thinking of depositing a preprint, they will no longer do it, because that journal that they want to submit to, they don't allow preprints. We as a preprint server, we often receive requests from authors asking us to remove their preprints, because they are trying to submit it to a journal X, Y, and Z, and the journal doesn't allow as long as there's a preprint, they are not allowed to submit to the journal. Thankfully, in most cases, we explain that we cannot remove a preprint for that reason, and they accept it. But that in itself is also a barrier, because there's a lot of misconception of what preprints are, and the journals are still clinging to the idea that they have to publish novelty or new or never before seen studies. And now with preprints, this is no longer the case. The journal doesn't have to publish any more research that is never before published because we have preprints. So since it's a transition period that we're living, there's still journals that are still in the old days of old traditional way of publishing, and there are journals that thankfully have migrated to the open science modus operandi. So I would say the two major barriers which are somehow related, is lack of public incentivation or lack public policies, and then the journals who are acting as gatekeepers, and they don't allow a submission when it's available as a preprint. And as a result, we see a lot of authors not posting preprints.
Yeah. Are there other any kind of barriers to that apart from these two major ones?
Yeah, I think there's also, apart from that, I would say there's also some just complete lack of understanding. I think that even though preprints they have been around for many years and decades in certain disciplines, for many authors, it's still new, and they they don't know, or they think it's something else. They think it's people that are that is less quality research, that only mediocre research are posted as preprints. So there's some some prejudice and some misconceptions and some lack of understanding of preprints. I think a lot of authors are taught, a lot of researchers are taught the traditional way, especially let's say maybe early career researchers are already being, they are already in that environment, in this scenario, in this current era that we're at. But if we talk about mid-career and maybe later researchers, they are used to a system and are used to a traditional way of publishing. So there's also that. I would say that in itself is also a barrier.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, is there any recommendation you can actually give to probably authors or organizations that carry out research and don't know what to do when it comes to posting their preprint or preprinting their work and even posting of their preprint?
Yeah, my recommendations for journals would be for journals specifically at first, would be to allow the submission of preprints, to not reject preprints only because they are a preprint, because you might be missing a great researcher or great research. You might be missing a great opportunity to publish a great article in your journal, and you're also contributing. When you allow preprints, you are contributing to open science and open communication. And for authors, I would recommend to try it once, to try a preprint, to try to post a preprint. And because I see a lot of people are used to a certain way, a lot of authors are used, and they don't try just because they don't. So I would recommend them to try posting a preprint at least once, to choose a server and that is aligned to their work, to the discipline. And I will also recommend them to read preprints and cite preprints, so that preprints are, in general, they are more included and they are more part of the communication workflow. Because we have to show the community that preprints are cited materials that can be read, that they can be improved, they can be used to make other greater research. So as authors, I would recommend them to read preprint, evaluate a preprint, and to make a deposit, to submit a preprint, to post a preprint. I think those steps will help include preprint in the workflow this workflow that is so solid and traditional. We need to add more of these open science components. So these are my recommendations to authors and journals.